In 2025, Salesforce told the world it was laying off 4,000 customer support people because artificial intelligence could now do their jobs. Their support team went from about 9,000 people down to 5,000. Clean story, AI made them redundant. Except, in that same stretch, Salesforce was quietly bringing thousands of new workers into the country on skilled work visas. So, let me ask the obvious question. If the machine was really doing the work, what exactly were all those new people hired to do? And once you start looking, this contradiction is everywhere. The company announces AI is replacing people, and then turns around and hires people. Lots of them. That gap between what these companies say and what they actually do with their payroll is the whole story I want to walk you through today. Because I don't think most of these layoffs were about AI at all. I think AI was the most convenient thing to blame. Now, I want to be careful here because there's a loud version of this argument that just yells corporate greed and moves on, and that's not what this is. I use these AI tools every single day, and they're genuinely useful. This isn't a video about evil billionaires. It's a video about incentives and about learning to read a press release the way you'd read a used car ad, calmly and with your hand on your wallet. So here's what I'm going to give you. First, the 3 real reasons those jobs actually got cut, and not one of them is a robot. Second, the receipts, the specific numbers that show these companies hiring with one hand while blaming AI with the other. And by the end, you'll have a simple test you can run on the very next layoff headline you see to tell whether AI was the cause or just the costume. And none of this is locked behind a course or a paywall. It's right here, all of it, because I'd rather you walk away able to see this for yourself than hand me anything. Yes, I've got a book and a newsletter. I'll name them once at the end, but you're not going to need either one of them to follow through this. Reason number 1 is the boring one, and it's the biggest. Rewind to 2020 and 2021. Money was nearly free. All of us were locked inside buying everything through a screen, and the tech giants hired like the party would never end. They massively overhired. Then the world reopened. Interest rates shot up, and suddenly all those extra salaries looked like a mistake that needed cleaning up. The layoffs that followed were the hangover from that binge. They were coming with or without a chatbot. So if this was really just a correction for overhiring, why not simply say that? Why reach for artificial intelligence at all? And that's where it gets interesting, because the answer isn't about technology. It's about what a chief executive is allowed to say out loud to the stock market. Picture a CEO with 2 ways to explain the same 10,000 job cuts. Version 1, we overhired, we misjudged the market, and now we're fixing our own mistakes. Version 2, we are so far ahead on artificial intelligence that we simply don't need as many people anymore. The first one makes the board nervous and the stock wobble. The second one makes you sound like a visionary and sends the share price up. Same layoff, 2 completely different stories. They picked the one that paid. And here's what makes me confident it was just a story and not a robot takeover. Look at the actual employment data. The Bureau of Labor Statistics quietly revised its numbers and found that the economy had created about 911,000 fewer jobs than anyone had been told in a single 12-month stretch. That's not AI replacing workers. That's an economy that was already softer than the headlines admitted, and companies trimming to match. And through all of it, the overall unemployment rate barely twitched. It drifted from around 3.9% to about 4.3%. If artificial intelligence were genuinely eating whole job categories the way we were promised, you would see that in the national numbers. You don't. The apocalypse simply isn't showing up in the data. It's only showing up in the press releases. Reason number 2 is the money underneath the money. Most of these executives are paid largely in stock, so their personal fortune rides on the share price, not on the number of humans employed. And Wall Street has been trained to cheer two things: cutting costs and anything with the letters AI in it. Announce a layoff and call it AI, and you check both boxes at once. You cut your payroll and you pump your own stock in the same sentence. And if you want the single fact that broke this open for me, here it is. Microsoft cut more than 15,000 people in 2025. In the same year, it posted a quarterly profit of nearly $26 billion. Sit with the shape of that for a second. These weren't desperate companies bleeding out and turning to robots to survive. These were wildly profitable companies cutting people because the market rewards it and dressing the cut up in the language of the future. Which brings us to reason number 3 and the receipts I promised you. Take Amazon. It spent the last stretch shedding corporate jobs and letting everyone assume AI efficiency was the reason. 14,000 corporate roles, with reports it could climb towards 30,000. And in that very same year, 2025, Amazon was approved for more than 10,000 skilled worker visas to bring people into the country, just over 10,000 of them. So hold those two numbers next to each other. Thousands of job cuts blamed on machines that supposedly don't need people, and thousands of new people brought in from overseas on visas at the exact same time. Both of those things can't be true. If the AI were really doing the work, you wouldn't need to import 10,000 humans to help it. The math only makes sense if AI was never the real reason. And if this feels familiar, it should, because the underlying move is decades old. Cut the expensive workers here, move the work somewhere cheaper, or bring cheaper workers to do it. We did exactly this with manufacturing in the 80s and 90s, and we called it globalization. The only thing that's new this time is the cover story. Back then, nobody could blame a robot. Now they can. Go back to where we started with Salesforce. Cut 4,000 support staff, blamed AI, and in the same period brought over 1,000 skilled workers in on visas with a large operation staffed up overseas on top of that. The support team shrank in America and grew somewhere cheaper. AI was the headline. Labor arbitrage was the strategy. That's not a machine replacing a human. That's an old spreadsheet decision wearing a very shiny new jacket. Now, I have to be fair, because if I only tell you one side of this, I'm doing the same thing they did. AI is genuinely taking some work. The honest subset is real. A lot of the first-tier customer chat, basic content moderation, simple copy that nobody was proud of anyway, language tasks, mostly because that's exactly what these models are built for. If your whole job was answering the same 3 questions by email, some of that is genuinely being automated, and pretending otherwise would be its own kind of lie. But that genuine, narrow automation is not where the giant headline numbers we're describing. When a wildly profitable company cuts 15,000 people and imports 10,000 more, the small slice AI actually handled is not the explanation, it's the alibi. A real, modest thing gets stretched over a much bigger decision to make that decision sound inevitable instead of optional. That's the sleight of hand. Because a label does an enormous amount of quiet work. We hired badly and now we're cutting costs is an admission. We are an AI-first company of the future is a vision. One gets you a rough earnings call, the other gets you a magazine cover and a higher share price. The technology in the middle barely changed. What changed was the word the company chose to staple onto a decision it had already made. So how do you tell from the outside whether a given layoff was really about AI or just wearing the costume? Here are the 3 real reasons to keep in your back pocket, because it's almost always one of them. An overhiring hangover, a stock price that rewards the cut, or cheaper labor somewhere else. When you see the next AI layoff headline, check those 3 first before you believe the robot did it. And then run one more question over the whole thing. Who benefits if I believe this story? If a company tells you AI eliminated those jobs, ask what that sentence does for them. It flatters the executives, it pleases the shareholders, and it quietly makes the layoff feel like destiny instead of a choice. When the story is that convenient for the person telling it, you're allowed to hold it at arm's length until the numbers back it up. And here's why this matters for you. Whether you run a company or just work at one, if you believe AI took those jobs, you make a whole set of decisions in fear. You panic buy tools you don't need. You freeze hiring you actually should do. Maybe you tell your own kid to abandon a career that was never really in danger. The false story has real casualties. Reading it correctly is not cynicism. It's just refusing to make expensive decisions based on somebody else's press release. One of the sharpest write-ups I read on the Amazon cuts put it about as plainly as it can be put. The layoffs, it said, are business as usual, not omens of artificial intelligence. That's the whole thing in a sentence. Companies have always cut people when the market rewarded it. This time, they found a story that made cutting look like leadership. Same old decision, brand new costume. So, I want to hear from you, and be specific in the comments. If you were part of a layoff that got blamed on AI, what actually happened afterward? Did the work truly vanish, or did it quietly reappear somewhere cheaper, or land on whomever was left? And if you think I've got this wrong, if you genuinely believe the machines did take those jobs, make the case. I read the replies and I change my mind when the evidence is good. I'm Dave Saunders. I write about seeing business clearly in a very noisy time in my book and in my weekly newsletter, The Build. And if this gave you a steadier way to read the next big headline, please subscribe because there's a new one every week. And the next one is the practical piece, exactly what to hand to AI and what to keep human without lighting your money on fire to find out.